Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Just me today, and not really a huge amount to talk about, but I'll do my best, being that pretty much all of our games seem to be being cancelled recently. Rennes was off, Brighton's off, Leicester is up for discussion. We've got West Ham. So yeah, not a huge amount to talk about in terms of the games, the preview, this would have been the Brighton preview, so we obviously can't do that. But I'm sure there's stuff to talk about. It won't be as long as the normal streams. A couple of other people in the chat. Eugene, how you doing, Eugene? And this one here echoes my sentiments exactly. Best wishes to Bob Spur, you'll know him as. He's got COVID at the moment in a fairly bad way. But yeah, praying for you, Bob. Everyone loves you here. Everyone on the Spurs community loves you. So praying for you to get better. And yeah, hope to see you here and on various other streams very, very soon. Big love to Bob Spur, and prayers and best wishes to him and all his family. And Cody, how you doing, Cody? So let's get started. So it's reported on Wednesday, 8 of our players, we don't know who, 5 of our staff, again, we don't know who, tested positive for COVID. I did see reports that Tony from Brentford didn't play in the game the same week or the same day that we played at Norwich, so possibly it was him who had that. But it's difficult to say, isn't it? But all we know is Wednesday, 8 players, 5 staff members caught COVID. So that obviously put a lot of issues on our game. A couple of more comments. Wayne, how you doing, Wayne? Always on the Spurs streams. Big up, Wayne. And again, echoing the sentiments. Well, a boring weekend awaits, but echoing the sentiments. Best wishes to Bob Spur. And again, from the Truth 82, how you doing? Best wishes to Bob in this difficult time. Yeah, hopefully he gets to see Christmas, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll make a recovery. He's a strong guy. Yeah, I don't really know what to say really, other than best wishes and prayers to Bob Spur, and hope you make a full recovery. Yeah, 8 players out, 5 staff members catching it as well. So yeah, Rennes was called off. Brighton's been called off. Leicester, I read on Twitter whether it's true or not that they're trying to speak to the Premier League to call that off as well, which, I mean, we already had a game in hand already. Potentially got 3 games in hand here. What I do find a little bit strange and a little bit unfair is Aston Villa were forced to play an FA Cup game when their players had COVID. There's some rule that if you've got enough... If you've got 10 outfield players and a goalkeeper, then you have to play the game, which is a bit, I'm not sure about that, being that it's supposed to be safety. The safety of the players, the fans, the staff is paramount, and yet they're forcing people to play, which they did with Villa. I think it was an FA Cup game against Liverpool last year. They had to field pretty much their reserve team. Obviously lost. But yeah, I mean, those reserve players would have had to have been drafted into the first team to get trained, or training, and then tactical stuff. And, you know, it could have easily spread to Liverpool there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a weird situation. I did see that Arsenal fans moaning that we get specialist treatment. I swear that some Arsenal fans care more about what Spurs are doing than their actual team. Obviously, if that statement's true, but... it would not surprise me at all. But yeah, I just think it's a sensible thing to do to call games off. Yeah, you get fixture congestion. Yeah, you've got to try and fit them in. But at the end of the day, safety is the most important thing. It's only football at the end of the day. But that brings us on to when the games are going to be played. So then, the Europa League, if we don't forfeit, we have to play it by the 31st of December. Rennes wanted the game carried on. Again, I talk about safety. I mean, Rennes are top of the league. I know they flew into London, but it's France. It's not like they're coming from Australia, you know, and wasted a 20-hour flight. They've only wasted a 1 or 2 hour flight. At the end of the day, safety, like I say, is the most important thing. And they're top of the group. They can't finish any lower than first. So I don't really understand why they're desperate to play the game when it really doesn't make a difference to them at all. But in terms of fixture congestion, it has to be done on the 31st of December, by the 31st of December. And this is our fixture list. Obviously, 12th, Brighton postponed. 16th, Leicester very likely to be postponed. I mean, if that gets postponed, Liverpool, very good chance of getting postponed. And then 22nd, I mean, they called it on Wednesday, which, what's that, 2 days ago, the 8th. So I don't know the rules anymore. Is it 10 days you're supposed to stay in isolation and then get a PCR test? And if you're fine, you're allowed to carry on. So if that was the 8th, that's the 18th. So Liverpool could be at risk. I mean, there'll be no training there for Spurs except for 1 day because the training ground's been closed. So you're possibly looking at then 3 league games postponed, the Rennes game as well. You've got a game on the 22nd, if that goes ahead, then the 26th, and then the 28th. I mean, could you fit one in on the 30th? Traveling to France, and I have no idea when it'll be fitted in. So there's a very, very good chance here that in the Europa League we're going to be out because we're going to have to forfeit that game, which is a shame because we did have a chance of qualifying. But at the end of the day, safety is the most important thing. So if UEFA decide that football is more important than safety, then I'm all for forfeiting it and saying up yours to UEFA and saying we'll just forfeit it. We're not risking people on flights and airplane staff, airport staff, and then the staff in the Rennes stadium either. But it remains to be seen when it will be played. And the Truth 82 here, a comment just come in. I think we're better off out of Europe for now. We don't have the squad depth yet. Prioritise top 4 and push domestic cups. I think if there was no COVID, I think Conte would have disagreed with that, being that it's a cup that we can win. So we're there to win trophies. I'm there to win trophies. I'm there to win games. But yeah, I think now with this whole situation and the fact that it has to be done by the 31st, I think Truth 82 is absolutely spot on there. We're better off out of it if they're demanding that we play it by the 31st of December. Because the fixture congestion is just going to be a bit silly in December, as it is already. And you never know that when we've recovered from COVID, the Brighton game might be the first one that's rearranged and played in December, and then Leicester as well. But yeah, and I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, if they're desperate for us to play it by 31st and we can't do that, then I'm all for just saying sod it. And it's a shame, and we're out of a European competition, but at the end of the day, like I say, safety is more important. Barry Ambrose, how you doing, Barry? Public Health England bigger than UEFA. It seems to be at the moment. Yeah, a bit of a shame. And again, the whole thing, this is all about safety. It's all about safety. The safety of people is paramount, and UEFA are desperate to play a game of football. And Rennes are desperate to play a game of football that for them, quite frankly, doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter what happens in that game. They can lose 10-0 and they're still top of that division table. But yeah, the Brighton game is called off. We're on a good run in the league, 3 wins out of 3, but we have got games in hand now. We will have games. Well, we had one game in hand because of the Burnley postponement with the pitch, and now we're going to have this one as well. And I haven't heard anything about any other teams having a COVID breach or anything like that, so I would assume that all games this weekend will go ahead apart from Brighton Tottenham. But yeah, and then Leicester again goes down. We've got 3 games in hand, and where do we fit those in? I mean, it could work out in our favour in a sense, being that these games, certainly the league games, will have to be done after the transfer window, by which time, if all that happens that we hope will happen, is that Conte gets some players in that he wants, we end up playing them with a team that he wants in. But yeah, hopefully it's not too many, and then we can recover from that fairly quickly, and then get games started again, and then there's no issues, there's no health issues, there's no anything like that. And yeah, I mean, just say we're having a party. You can do what you want when you're having a party. If you have a party and cover it up, you seem to be able to do what you want as long as there's cheese and wine there. You can do what you want, allegedly. But yeah, the games have to be postponed. If there's COVID risks there, they have to be postponed, because, I mean, I banged on it. I must have said it about 15 times already. Safety is the most important thing here. The football is not the most important thing. If you have to forfeit games, then as bad as it is, as annoying it is as it is, you have to forfeit games because it's not worth the risk of, infecting people and seriously infecting people. Certainly this close to Christmas, but any time, at any point in the year. I have no idea when we're going to play them. I would assume, like I say, it's going to be in the new year. So if we don't have a cup run, if we don't have an FA Cup run, then that sorts some of that out. As long as the teams that we have in hand don't have a cup run either, because then they can just be on an FA Cup weekend. If you do have a cup run, then what do you do there? Because you don't have those. If we do get kicked out of the Europa League because we forfeit, then I guess Brighton aren't in European competition. Leicester are. They're in the Conference League as well. And West Ham with the League Cup, they're in the Europa League. I think they pretty much qualified. So where do you fit those in? It's going to be a real fixture congestion towards the end of the season. I think they'll all be bumped to play towards the end of the season, unless, like I say, there's gaps with FA Cup runs not happening or Europe runs not happening. It's interesting, but it could end up working out in our favour, like I say, because it will be after Conte's been able to spend money and everything like that. But a couple more comments here. Wayne, going to need a decent to good transfer window in order to help cope with the fixture congestion mixed in with the domestic cups. I think so. I still maintain that there must have been conversation between Levy and Conte when Conte signed the deal. And Conte's not a mug. He's not one of these yes men. He's not, I want this, well, you can't have that. Okay, I'll play ball. He will, I think, just walk if he doesn't get a good transfer window. And I think he'll see this as potential that we've got these games after the window, get my players in, and we've got an extra 2, maybe 3 games that the players that I want are going to be in. Cody as well, hoping the affected players were vaccinated. Some players have been adversely affected for months. Life is bigger than football, and pandemic is still very much raging. A reminder to be safe. Absolutely spot on there, Cody. Some players have refused vaccination, haven't they? I'm not sure if it's Tottenham players, but certainly some Premier League players, they haven't been able to refuse vaccination. I don't like the fact that mandatory vaccinations, I don't like that. People should still have the choice. This has been going on for months. I'm amazed that not more teams have been affected by this, being its close contact and everything like that. And if players aren't having vaccinations, then surely they're going to get affected. But like Cody says, they're absolutely spot on. Life is bigger than football. Pandemic is still very much raging. And it's a game of football at the end of the day. It's you can go down to the park and play that. It's not that huge a deal. Life and well-being and health is far more important. And at this point in time as well, 2 weeks before Christmas, family is far more important. People want to go and see their family. So it's so much more important to make sure you're safe and not taking any unnecessary risks. I wish someone would just tell you for that. Rennes, it's a game of football at the end of the day. If you want to kick us out, kick us out. Like, we're not going to risk health. Well, we've got this, which is apparently a huge deal and a worldwide pandemic. But when it comes to football, certain people like UEFA decide that football's more important, which is absolutely crazy. Wayne said, if any of our players have refused vaccination, they should be refused the ability to play matches. I'm not sure about that. I don't like the idea of mandatory vaccinations and you have to be vaccinated to be able to do things. People don't have the flu vaccination and I know that kills thousands of people, but it's not mandatory and life still goes on. And obviously this is a horrible situation, horrible virus. I just don't like the idea of mandatory vaccinations. And the idea is if you are vaccinated and you get it, unless you've got health issues, you shouldn't be that affected by it. But again, I'm not sure how that works. I'm no kind of scientist or anything like that. But it would be interesting, what you think, Wayne. If Kane had refused or Son had refused the vaccine, would you? Obviously, they're two of our big players, and mention any other big players that you want as well. Højbjerg, Skip. If they'd have refused it, I'm not necessarily saying you are, Wayne, but would fans be saying, well, they've got to play, it's up to them? But if there's someone like a Sanchez or someone who wasn't fancied by the fan base had it, would they be saying to refuse to play and they haven't had a vaccine? Football fans are very fickle. A lot of fans are very fickle. I'm not saying Wayne is. A lot of fans are very fickle that would say that, you know, if you refuse the vaccine, you don't play, but Kane hasn't. Oh, Kane can play. But yeah, I don't like the idea of mandatory vaccination at all. It's kind of an infringement on human rights. And it seems to be going that way. I don't like that. But yeah, Leicester. It's a good time to play Leicester, potentially. They're kind of very hit and miss at the moment. But again, if we're not well enough to play, we don't play the game. And you know, and I mean, the FA decide, or is it the Premier League who decide if Premier League games are off? So that FA Cup game that I spoke about, Villa Liverpool, that went on. Is that the FA who decided that, and the Premier League decide Brighton and Leicester for us? I don't understand. Either way, I don't understand how you can play one game and not the other. I know they have players available and everything like that, but they're not the players that they wanted to play and the players that have been prepped for the previous week. But yeah, I just, in a situation where this pandemic is such big news and such a horrible thing, and affecting so many people very, very negatively and everything. I don't understand why it's just all of the bodies don't come together and go, well, if there's an issue like this, if the games are called off, no questions asked. But yeah, I don't understand why some games go ahead because there's a few players and, you know, we have to get the fixtures in. No, you don't. It's a game of football. It's a game of football. Comment from Wayne here. Imasmatic had several serious attacks during the outbreak and lockdown last year. I'd drop them if they refuse to take health and safety seriously, given the circumstances. That's fair enough, Wayne. And sorry to hear you've had a lot of attacks. Hope he's getting a bit better now. But yeah, again, I don't like the mandatory vaccines and you have to do this. Yeah, I don't like that. But I mean, how do you work it out? You either have people who aren't vaccinated and then can spread the thing. You have people who are vaccinated who should get symptoms, but less than other people. I mean, how do you work it out? Do you make everybody get it, or do you leave it up to people? And it's a very tricky situation. But yeah, I really don't know how to get that sorted. We're going to be living with this for years to come. I think, certainly when variants are coming out, certainly in the winter months. Yeah, and Truth 82, I had both jabs against my will, mandatory where I'm residing, but it won't stop a person from catching COVID. Again, I don't like the mandatory. I'm not sure where you're from, Truth 82. I'm not sure if it's mandatory in the UK yet. I think they're trying to push for it, but yeah, you can still get it. You can still pass it on, but obviously, if you've had both of the vaccines and now the booster as well, then you should, if you get it, the symptoms should be a lot less than if you were unvaccinated. So that's the point of the vaccine. But yeah, I think if you have health conditions, then you can still get it quite bad, even with both of the vaccines or 3 vaccines. But again, I just don't understand, like I've said, how the bodies, one body can say, oh, you've got to play that game, you've got enough players, and other bodies say, well, no, we'll call the game off. It should just be every single body, UEFA, FIFA, FA, Premier League, anything like this, game called off, no questions asked. And, you know, when you run through the isolation period, 10 days or 2 weeks, whatever it is, and then have a negative PCR test, you're fine to carry on. I don't understand that. I don't understand how they're trying to push these games forward when, quite frankly, they don't matter in the slightest. But yeah, it'd be interesting what you guys think on the chat as well, who haven't weighed in on this opinion yet. Yeah, anyone on the chat? Everyone watching, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. All helps the channel. Subscribe, that is. Hit the notification bell. That'll give you a notification when we're about to go live. All helps the channel. Wayne, and don't get me wrong, I don't like the mandatory thing either. It's a fine line between safety and personal freedom. They should cancel the pre-Xmas games. Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea cancelling those. Certainly for fans attending those games, there's a good chance that you could catch that, I guess. Although it is outside, which they say outside is a lot less likely to catch it. But yeah, this comes back as well, doesn't it, to the Christmas break? Other countries have it, a Christmas break. I think it's 2 weeks. We kind of had it here, didn't we? It was staggered. So each team had 1 week break. And then the following week, the other teams did, or something stupid like that, whereas the Bundesliga has a 2-week shutdown period, which, from Wayne there, that's not a bad idea, cancelling those games. It stops the fans going to the games, potentially contracting it, stops the players. Obviously, you've got the fixture congestion. Got a World Cup next year in the middle of the season, although that doesn't end this season. So you could easily add another month on, I think. Although you've then got a month off in the following season for the World Cup, which, that's another issue with the whole corruption there getting into Qatar, but we don't need to go into that. But yeah, they seem to be so concerned about fixture congestion rather than the actual issue that's staring them in the face and staring the whole world in the face, and has been for the last 2 years. They seem to care more about football, which is just absolutely crazy when people are losing jobs and health is a real concern and everything like that, and lack of money. And these people are paid absolute millions, and yet their the bodies are, just play the games. You can play the games, you can play your reserves. It's just absolutely ridiculous, because those reserves will be around those players, not constantly, not training with them constantly, but will have been around those players. But yeah, it's just absolutely crazy, and it will carry on. So even next season, I think we'll end up having these issues as well. And with the World Cup, they'll be really banging on about getting those fixtures played rather than the safety, which is just absolutely crazy and just wrong on so many levels. But yeah, and where do we fit those games? We haven't been told which players have which of those 8 players have it. Not sure we need to know, really. Again, like I say, it's players at the club, so therefore the games can't go ahead because it's just not right to do that. I would assume there are quite a lot of them that are the first teamers. And Conte obviously said it's a scary time, so you could see from him the concern there, not for the matches that we might lose, but for the players and the health and everything like that. So every time I see Conte, I like him more. And he speaks very well, and the passion he has, and then that's just shown his caring side like that. He obviously is a winner, a serial winner, but yet he cares about the players rather than the matches at this moment in time, which is what everybody should be doing. And not just the players, the fans as well, the staff, and not just the staff that you see on the sidelines, the playing staff, the coaching staff. It's the staff in the club kitchen and restaurant at the training ground, pitch maintenance, and every single person within Tottenham who come into contact with players and staff every day. It's not just about the game and the players and the staff. It's about everybody at the club and the fans as well. The fans go there in their tens of thousands, meet up before in games in the pub, in the stadium, in the bars. So yeah, I do think Wayne's got a good point there. Cancel the pre-Christmas games, but again, because of fixture congestion and so worried about when they're playing games, they won't do that at all. And saw from the fixture list, if everything goes ahead, we've got games on the 19th, 22nd, 26th, 28th. I imagine there's one on New Year's Day. And yeah. But yeah, a question from Wayne here: have the club actually shut everything down, or is it reduced compared to normal? From what I read on Twitter, take that as you will, it's on Twitter. Spurs Lodge has been closed. So that's obviously the training ground, so all the players aren't training at the moment. So I'd imagine that means the reserve players aren't as well, although they may train somewhere else to Spurs Lodge and the actual training ground. But yeah, from what I heard on Twitter, I think it was on Sky Sports, but again, take that with much of a pinch of salt issue. I think it's everything been shut down, which makes sense. The players have to isolate now. All of the players are, because surely what's happened here is 8 players, 5 staff have got it. So therefore, the other players, the other staff have been in contact with those. So therefore, should have been pinged from the app, and therefore have to isolate as well. So it makes sense to shut everything down and yeah. But that's what I've read. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I would imagine it is true. But yeah, there's been a few during this pandemic. I know Villa, like I said, with the FA Cup, there was a couple of others, and I can't remember which ones they are. But I'm surprised that a lot more haven't. And yeah, even when a few people get it, that you know, few people in a club get it, the game should be postponed. I know it's only a few. You know, they've got a squad of 25, it's only a few, but all of those players, one player has it in a club. I mentioned Tony at Brentford. Tony has it at the club. He's training with all of that team, interacting with all of those staff members in the canteen and everything like that, you know. So how do they know they're not asymptomatic? I know they're taking PCR tests every day, but, you know, yeah, it's just crazy. Being that when we get it, we have to isolate. We've got all these rules, which, you know, the rules are probably not being stuck to that much at the moment, being what's happening at number 10 and the lack of trust there. But yeah, but ignore that aside. When we get it, we're not allowed to go into work. We're not allowed to go shopping. We're not allowed to go to the pub or the cinema or wherever. See family, we've got to isolate. So I don't see how it's different here just because there's a few games to be played. You know, but games can be played at any time. Like I say, if you need to make time up, you can make time up if you want to. If you don't want to, then you'll find it difficult. If you want to make time up, you can make the time. So yeah, just extend the season by a couple of weeks, you know, for those teams who need that. And then, you know, there's no World Cup in the summer or Euros in the summer, so the players will have a month off. Yeah, then just start the next season slightly later and end it slightly later, because again, there's no World Cup at the end of next season because it's in the middle of it. So it's going to be extended anyway, so just extend it again. Yeah, so if you want to make the time up, you can. It's just all of this, you know, we have to get the games done. You have to play this by the 31st. The next round of the Europa Conference League until February. So why the hell we have to play it by the 31st of December? I do not know. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference. You can play that the 31st of January and it still wouldn't make a difference. But it's because of all the draws. All the draws happen before, I think, Christmas. And it gives a crap about the draws. Just do the draws in the new year. Again, is health more important to you, or is playing a poxy football match more important to you, UEFA? Truth 82, the match I was looking forward to the most was West Ham in the Cup. Hopefully our players and staff are healthy before long. Yeah, 22nd, what's that? That's just under 2 weeks away. I mean, the issue you'll have there is that they wouldn't have trained for 2 weeks. So what we'll be saying to FA and Premier League and then UEFA is we're not being able to prepare properly, which... Again, that's just one of those things, I guess. When you're healthy, you can play the game. But again, it goes back to what's more important, health or a game of football. The issue with the Carabao Cup is that, you know, you've obviously got scheduled for that. I don't know if it's back to the final being in February again, or if it's April. I mean, if it's April, who gives a crap when it's played? You play that in March. And again, even if it's February, you can play that in January. I don't really understand the urgency of playing it, but yeah, Brighton definitely off. Rennes obviously didn't happen. Leicester, I'd be quite amazed if that goes ahead. I think that would be cancelled as well. And then Liverpool on the 19th, probably 50-50 at the moment. And then West Ham. I mean, if Liverpool gets called off, I'd say West Ham is 50-50. And then you're looking at the Boxing Day for the next one. But yeah, West Ham are definitely beatable, but again, we could end up playing all of these games after the January window, and Conte's got a few players out that he wants and a few players in that he wants in, and then we're a much better team with it. And then, you know, Arsenal will then really be saying it's a conspiracy and all of this crap. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And like I say, I mean, I've banged on about it. It sounds like a broken record, it sounds like a jive bunny. It's about health and safety. It's not about football anymore. It's about health and safety. So a lot of these players have got COVID. A lot of the staff have got COVID. That's going to spread around the club. It's going to spread around fans. If you players pat them on the back if that's one of the affected players, and staff as well, even non-coaching staff, and so it has to be called off. And certainly with Rennes, that could have then easily spread to France, because you've got Rennes players who would then take it back to France and then spread it around their clubs and everything like that. So, yeah, but then they landed in London, which was, I'm assuming they flew before the game was called, well, obviously, but yeah, it's just a really strange situation and a horrible situation, and hopefully we can get out of this fairly quickly. But we've been saying that for 2 years, haven't we? But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to talk about. It's all about COVID and the games being called off. There's no games to preview, no games to review. So yeah, it's a very short stream, this one. Yeah, thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to everybody who's watching. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. If you're then watching the replay, please also ensure you, before you leave, hit the like. It's completely free. Hit the subscribe and hit the notification bell. That will give you a notification when we're about to go live. I'll be back on Monday, hoping to have Kat Lucas, who's written a book, Spurs from the Lane. Very excited about this. Hoping to have her on talking about the book and her experience as a Spurs fan and just Spurs in general. So again, something different. We haven't got a match to talk about because Brighton won't be happening on Sunday, so there's nothing on Monday to talk about in terms of that. So yeah, hopefully to have Kat on there, that'll be really good. Really looking forward to that. But yeah, that'll be at normal time, 8 o'clock on Monday. But yeah, until then, there's not really anything else to say other than, until we play again, wherever that may be, come on, you Spurs. Thank you so much for watching. For everybody who participated in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anybody who couldn't watch the live video, you can still catch us on YouTube. Add any comments, suggestions or questions to the comments section on the video. Anybody who's listened to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anybody who wants the audio-only podcast, you get this wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, @Talk Tottenham, you'll find all the information there. We'll be back soon. We're live Mondays, 8 p.m, Fridays, 12:30 UK time. Until then, come on, you Spurs!